Alright, fine, I'm doing it. I've procrastinated long enough, but I'm finally adding combat to my game. This is Skies of Avium. It is a survival crafting game with Greek mythology and a lot of automation. In the last devlog, I added the underworld to my game, but the main thing that was still missing was combat. And I will tell you, there was a reason. It scared me. It absolutely did. Not the combat itself per se, because that's, well, I've never done it before in a video game, not properly anyway. I was pretty sure I could just figure that out like I do with pretty much everything else. No, the thing that scared me was implementing enemies and their behaviors and pathfinding. Let me explain. This is the game with the player and the starting island. You can break objects, place objects, break tiles, and place tiles. But the word island is essential here because my game takes place in the sky. It's called Skies of Avium after all. It's not just smart, it's also clever. But basically, enemies and other creatures for that matter need to be able to walk around your world just like you do. But the thing is, my world is constantly changing because it isn't some predefined level like in a lot of linear games. So whenever I place a new object in the world, my enemy's pathfinding should update and it should no longer be able to walk there anymore. Do you see why I was scared? It's constantly changing and me having to update a massive world for every single change you make, I'm just not smart enough for that. Not even a little. But what if I was? Like I said, in the last devlog I added the underworld, and because it wasn't super straightforward to add a whole new dimension to my game, I separated my world into chunks. And now I have a bunch of little squares all over my editor scene that represent 32 by 32 tile chunks. This was first and foremost with the game's optimization in mind, but that's not all I could use it for, as you'll see. I'm using something called the A-Star Unity package to control AI pathfinding. And because it would be insane to have it calculate the best possible path over all 100 million tiles in my world, I decided to try something different. Maybe you already saw it coming, but instead, I'm going to calculate the best possible path within a certain chunk. Here's the deal. Whenever you, as the player, enter a chunk, that specific chunk, as well as the surrounding chunks, all get added to a list of chunks to consider for pathfinding. And every time something in that chunk changes, it will recalculate the pathfinding for that chunk. But anyway, this is great. I now have a bunch of chunks with data for pathfinding. And as you can see here, I got this giant enemy in the game, and he is set to just walk towards me if he sees me. Wait, what? It just works like that? First try? Oh, no, okay, never mind. Almost let me fault there that I could get something done on the first try. Okay, but in reality, it took me a while to figure out what is really happening here. Basically, whenever I calculate the pathfinding stuff in a chunk, it is completely separate from all the pathfinding data from all the other chunks, because otherwise your world would still be updating way too many tiles at once. Maybe not 100 million tiles, but still, it could get really, really bad. So that means that these two dudes have no idea that the other exists. Like, bro, you're neighbors. Go get social or something. Watch a movie. I don't know. This was such an annoying problem, though. I genuinely spent several days trying to come up with solutions. I even asked my dad for help after making a sketch of the situation, and he has no idea about game design or programming or even cares for this project for that matter. But after almost giving up for the 5th time, I finally found something on the A-Star forum that saved me. Linked nodes. Basically, every tile in this graph here is a node that has one of two states: walkable or obstacle. The thing is that, luckily for me, each of these nodes can be aware of other nodes it is connected to that are not part of the same graph. And just so you know, every chunk is its own graph in my case. So with some weird code dark magic, I made sure that all edge tiles in every chunk are aware of all the other edge tiles it touches. And with those linked, it can now surprisingly move between chunks. We have pathfinding! Yay! Thankfully, the hard part is now finally done, so I can finally actually focus on the thing that matters. Combat, that's what you're here for, and I'm gonna do it right now. Yeah, no, that's something. That's something, alright. And you wanna know what else is something? Wishlisting my game on Steam. And it's not just something. It's also free. And when you do it, Steam notifies you when the game is finally out and ready to play. But if you don't want to wait that long to play, I completely understand and I got you. Because if you want, you can already play the game right now. Because if you support me on Patreon, you get monthly builds, and if you pick one tier higher, that being the demigod tier, you also get a Steam key. So basically, if you're really smart about it, you can just pay for it once, cancel your membership right away, and still get the game with every single update that I would otherwise upload monthly, but this time even more frequently. And also when the game releases, finally, you still have the game. This almost sounds like cheating. Anyway, if you're interested, go check out the link in the description below. It's highly appreciated. Not necessary, but still very cool. Thank you. Now, in its most basic form, combat is about at least two entities, me and whatever enemies there are, fighting until you're dying. With the entities now being able to run around, I added some basic health logic, and whenever I swing my sword, whichever entity is in the swing's hitbox, they get hit and take damage. This also gives them a bit of knockback, which we'll get back to in a second. If they take too much damage, they die and they perish like they're in some kind of Marvel movie. But enemies don't just have two states, alive or dead. I also want them to act like they have things going on in their life. Who knows, maybe they have like a little garden they're taking care of in their free time or something. I don't know, that would be cool, right? But basically, I want them to do a bunch of things. First, I want them to look for a place to go, to walk to whenever they feel like it and make use of that sweet pathfinding system I created. But if they're an enemy and you've aggroed them, they will walk to you, and if they can't find you anymore, I also want them to look around a little longer to find you specifically. But then I also want them to have an attack state, where they unsurprisingly, I think, attack you. This would be different for most enemies, but the state should be the same for each of them. But if they're not an enemy, they need another state. Like, maybe they freak out when you hit them, like most animals do in Minecraft. I kind of felt like adding a similar kind of behavior to my game would make sense. I'm already doing the behaviors right now, so I might as well, right? And I also have a lot of animals in my game, or will have anyway, so why not? I am so sorry. Now, with that out of the way and the guild still killing me inside, I think it's time that we talk about Knockback. As you can see here, an enemy gets knocked back in whichever direction you're hitting it, so you give a bit of visual feedback that you've done something to it and that you have a certain amount of power, which is super important for game feel and to make a player feel satisfied when attacking something. But without going into too much detail, let me tell you why that wasn't as easy as it may have sounded. In a regular 2D game, it will be pretty straightforward. You hit an enemy, they get knocked back in a certain direction, and when they hit a collider, they stop moving in that direction. Again, that is a regular 2D game. Skies of Avium isn't. Since my game takes place in the sky, there aren't any walls to stop it from being knocked back. If I don't stop it, it will be knocked back until the end of time and space. So I had to do some predictions. It's math. I don't like math. When I hit an enemy, it checks in what direction it should get knocked back. It then looks if there is a tile in the position it would like to go to. If not, it tries to find the tile closest to the target position that also aligns with the line it should follow for the knockback. This may seem like an obvious solution, but I can tell you that I was so happy when I finally figured it out, because this whole combat update made me want to quit this whole project like 7 times at least. But now it gets knocked back properly and with some more polish, like a little flash effect, as well as some blood spatters and damage numbers, the combat feels really nice. But you might be thinking, since we're in the sky, why not just have them fall off the island when they get knocked back far enough? And yeah, you know what, that's actually a really cool idea. I may have to actually look into that, because that sounds really sick. Oh, what am I doing to myself? I am so going to regret this. Maybe. Now I know I've already taken up way too much of your time, so let me just go through some of the other things that I've added regarding the combat update. Just, you know, like real quick. I've added a bow and arrow. It's quick, it's cool, it's a bow and arrow. I've added a few temporary levels for the underworld. You have to kill all enemies in it to be able to progress to the next level. It's actually pretty fun. I've added something I call entity effects. Stuff like being on fire or being poisoned. I can activate it through my weapons as well as through projectiles like arrows, but I've also added a simple fireplace that can set an entity or the player on fire. Then there are new slots in the inventory that are used for armor. Surprisingly, it actually works. Not that you can craft the armor or get it in any other way, but who cares? We'll get there soon. Speaking of soon, with the fundamentals of combat finally in place, it is almost time to get to the next big step in the game's development. That step being content. God, so exciting! There are still a lot of things to be figured out, but once I've written down a bunch of things that will be in the game, and when I know more of the specifics regarding items and characters and story and such, it's going to be so cool. But there is one more important thing that needs to happen first, and I can tell you that it's already in progress and well underway, and I'm super excited to share it with you. It is something that I've been putting off for way too long, and I almost convinced myself that it wasn't necessary in the first place, but my goodness, it absolutely was. Because in the next devlog, Skies of Avium is getting a massive visual overhaul. This is done by a new member of the team, Hori. He's a fantastic artist. He's doing an incredible job, and I can't wait for you to see what he's been cooking up. It is so pretty. You know what? Here's a little teaser. Look at that. Look at how cool that is. Go wishlist my game. It is all finally starting to come together, and I'm so excited about it. So yeah, go subscribe because you're not gonna want to miss what's coming next. And with that, again, a huge thank you for the support on Patreon, and especially to Blake for supporting in the God tier, which also gets you a place in the credits of the game. Subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.